the ability to listen to people complain and then turn it into gold is a skill set that spans every single job. If you don't want to be an entrepreneur, you are the gold standard if you can listen to people complain and go, all right, I'm going to take this on. I'm going to pause and then come up with some solution. I'm going to build a team to tackle it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to my show. My name is Tiffany Alexander, and this is Unveiling Journeys. I am so excited to have you here today. I cannot wait to crack into unveiling my guest journey. But let me just tell you 1 second about me. I love people. Everybody that I get to meet, I sincerely believe they are like an unwrapped Christmas present that I can't wait to be able to go and get to know, really hear them out in their story. And then by the time you get to hear out everybody's phenomenal story, even if you think it's not, I like to say, hey, this has been so fun. Who do you know that I need to know? How can I get to know more people just like you? And by the way, I possibly am bubbling over with excitement that I can't wait to introduce you to some people that I think that you need to know. And of course, that's how the podcast was born, because when people are so darn cool, you can't wait to tell other people about it. And this was just a really logical way for me to decide and develop a way to give back for everybody that I meet so I can give them a little bit more camera time. I want to go forward and introduce you to my guest. I'm so excited. I got introduced, of course, to some cool people that led me to Don. And he is the reason why we're connecting today to talk about his journey. So do me a favor, Don, welcome. Tell everybody who you are and what you're up to right now.
Who am I? Well, first of all, I am also just as excited because I know there's been like a handful of times that within 10 minutes of knowing somebody, I think that I quote Step Brothers, and I'm 95% sure I was like, did we just become best friends? So I share that same passion, that same excitement. Man, who am I? I am the son of a teacher and a stay-at-home mom, which really means I'm the son of two teachers. And I have a passion for people that might not be great at school, but wants to be awesome. We'll unpack that a lot. I was that kid that I had to do. By the way, my parents are saints. They're just wonderful people. But when I said I had to do well in school, is like the societal pressure of your dad's a teacher. What the heck is wrong with you? So there was that. But I struggled in school. I mean, I'm 53. They did not have the term attention deficit disorder back then. I know what I have, and I think it's my super. But at the heart of the matter is I'm the CEO and really co-founder with one of my former students of this thing called STARTedUP and also STARTedUP Foundation. So what we do is, and we'll unpack this a lot, but in essence, I get students to see problems as opportunities. We could call that entrepreneurship. Maybe we will later. But the ability to listen to people complain and then turn it into gold is a skill set that spans every single job. If you don't want to be an entrepreneur, you are the gold standard if you can listen to people complain and go, all right, I'm going to take this on. I'm going to pause and then come up with some solution. I'm going to build a team to tackle it. So yeah, I'm a CEO. I'm a father of three. I'm a husband of a wife that I don't deserve. But she's cool, and we've been married for years now, so she's stuck with it. But yeah, I'm just really, really, really excited that I get to work with thousands of students and almost as many teachers.
I love this so much. And you're so humble. You've not been braggadocious about this phenomenal program, Started Up whatsoever. So I am here to shout to the rooftops, sing the songs of praises of my people, because the phrase that you tell me that lives in my brain now, rent free constantly and is worthy, is, my gosh, where was that when I was 16?
Yes.
So you've invented something that sings dear praises to my heart as an entrepreneur now, that if I had realized that that was an actual path at the age of 16, that you're presenting as an opportunity to high school age kids in a manner that is like all angles of all people of all levels of entrepreneur, and being able to weave that into like real education with them. And I can't talk enough about it. Can we just talk like a couple more minutes about how this works and what it is you're doing with it?
Yeah. I mean, can I tell you how I originally come up with it?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, we can. You know what? Let's do that. Let's start from the beginning. Tell me
Sure.
the whole story. Where you
I love
from?
this because I wish I still had this email because at the school I was at when I moved, they delete all your emails. But I got an email one day that says, "You got to watch this." And it was this TED talk by a guy named Daniel Pink. By the way, people listening, there's going to be unfortunately some shameless name dropping, but I promise you is because that's the order of operation. But I'm on my lunch break, and I was either teaching. It was either a freshman English class, or I also had a documentary film class and a video editing class. I watch it and I listen to him talk about what motivates people and what, master autonomy purposes. And I'm thinking, I was always stopped by parents and they'd say, you know what they should do in today's schools? And they were usually offering up skills that we didn't focus on or leadership and money. Right. And so I was like, I'm listening to Dan. Like, what if I had my own class that the crux of the class would be if school didn't get in your way, what would you want to do? How would you want to spend this hour a day every day? Shockingly, there's a whole fun podcast in between on me trying to get it approved, but I got it approved. And we called the class, ironically, Innovation and Open Source Learning. Innovation, because it was innovative to like, what's the class about? You tell me. That was really rare. And then open source learning, because 90% of the things my kids wanted to do is like, yeah, I don't know, but let's call people. And so ironically, our first big break is I reach out to this guy and I didn't know that he's author famous. I didn't know that Oprah bought his book for everybody at Stanford one year. Like, and I'm like, hey, will you help me? And he said, sure. And honestly, the other big break was this is the first year. This is how long ago it was. This was the first year that YouTube started to monetize. So all of a sudden being a YouTuber was going to be a thing. So some of our students were like, okay, I want to spend my time understanding what it means to be a YouTuber. How do you get monetized? What does that mean? What does that take? Does that take tax documents? Does that, what does it take? And so the open source learning came out of it to where we were reaching out to those people. Like it was lucky, I guess, that Dan Pink said yes. It was lucky that now famous YouTubers, they were getting their start. We're going, sure. And quite frankly, that's where we started to get this battle cry. Dude, where was this when I was 16? Because people were starting to call in and they were pleasantly surprised. Some people were even skeptical. There was a guy named Tom Bilyeu who had his own show called, at the time, it was called Inside Quest and later became this thing called Impact Theory. But he thought I was full of crap. And they called into my kids and they were just, he said a couple of empty platitudes and they called him out. And they're like, no, it's not that easy. He's like, oh, okay. And, they kind of went back and forth and just little by little, people like Gary Vaynerchuk and Seth Godin start calling into the class and others. We can maybe get into that. But I knew that I was onto something because one, it's where the world was moving. A lot of people were starting to question the ROI of college. And I think maybe the biggest impact that I had was kids that were about to go major in this in college were giving it a try and realizing it sucked and changing their major before they got there. So I'm like, good luck. I just saved, like, congratulations, I saved you $20,000. And I think that this experimental class and also just going against the grain of the culture of school was the biggest break, that I'm so grateful that the school allowed me that opportunity and the students that opportunity to do it. And then just building up this network of crazy people that, again, like I've never met a group of people that I hate to say the word hated, but I've never met a group of people that just did not like school, but loved learning more than entrepreneurs. And then later on, I kind of found this same way with a lot of entertainers and artsy people and athletes. School was as a necessary thing that they had to go to, but they struggled. They wanted more time with what they wanted to do. So when these people found out that I had a class where that hour was yours, it is the most selfish class in the world. They realized that class was for them. They're like, I would have ran with it and gone. And so it was good. And then just getting these people to validate what they had on their hands, like you don't really think it's a cool thing until somebody else tells you it's cool. So we would have students get access to extraordinarily awesome people. And they were like, don't screw this up. Time and your network is the two most precious things you have. And we ran with it.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. I want to get more into it a little bit, but I want to hear how you got here. Like, this is Unveiling Journeys. I want to hear the whole full circle of the
Mm.
start. Like, where are you from, and what
Yeah.
did you think you were going to be doing this when you were growing up that led to the more deeper part of this?
I think where I'm from is Indianapolis, Indiana. And I think one of the things that really shaped me was my first job was really delivering papers for the Indianapolis Star. I'll never forget that because the kid that was before me was so bad that I was like gonna be good, right? And so like, by the way, like getting tip like when you're 11 years old, 12 years old, and you're getting like $5 tips, like I was the richest kid in the world.
Yeah.
Um, but I'll never forget, I was into it maybe for a month, and all of a sudden I woke up and it was like starting to become winter and I was sick and I was vomiting. And my dad knocks on my door. He's like, Donnie, are you going to deliver the papers? I'm like, I'm vomiting. He's like, your customers don't care. Is if it helps, I'll load up the truck, but I don't know your delivery route. You're still going to have to do it. I'll help. Like in some ways, it made me like not sick. Like I cannot afford to be sick. And then like a month later, it was Christmas, and it was Christmas Day. I was barely old to like. There's no well, you know, for those listening, there it might not be a Christmas surprise, and so I was like, I have to deliver papers today. He's like, yeah, and that taught me more about responsibility and more about customer service, and not only good customer service, but they paid. They And again, God bless the fact the kid before me was so bad that when I got there on time and I was putting it behind the door and not in the rain, that like I was getting $5 and $10 tips. And I'm telling you, in 1980, whatever, 80 probably six, like that was a big deal. And
Yeah.
so I just love to reminisce about that because nowadays the paper is not really delivered and all this other stuff. But that shaped me in ways and made me focus on the customer. And again, I'm seeing problems as opportunities. And I heard that the customers were like, when it rains, this kid never put it behind the door or in the mailbox. He just let it rain. I'm like, so what you're saying is if I don't do that, and I benefited from that. Um, and then the other part of it, my favorite thing, is that my first and real job right out of college, I had interviewed actually, I had heard about this internship and I found out about too late. But the internship sounded so cool that I called anyway. And the guy that answered and he says, hey, thanks. We already filled it. Have a nice day. And I said, no, no, no. Like, I still want to know about it. And he goes, I can tell you about it, but we've already filled it. And I'm like, do me a favor. Can I shadow you for a day? And he's like, kid, I can't tell you enough. We've filled it. And I go, I will buy you lunch. I'm so intrigued by the fact that I'm mad that I missed it, but I'm so intrigued by what you do. I'll buy you lunch. And he's like, you're going to drive an hour and a half to follow me around and buy me lunch. I'm like, absolutely. I was like 19. He goes, okay. So I get there. We hit lunchtime. He's like, no. And he called me a kid. He's like, no kid's going to buy me lunch. I'll buy for you. Asked him a ton of questions. I was actually literally eager to learn. About the end of the day, I'm like, so when can I come back? He's like, Donnie, back then people still call me Donnie. I just wanted you to know that like there is still no internship. I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, but I'm actually getting access to what you do and I want to know more. And I'll skip to the end of the story. End up going back like 4 or 5 more times my junior and senior year. I graduate. I'm looking for a job. I'm selling men's suits at the mall, waiting for my good job, scanning we still had newspapers back then looking for one ads. All of a sudden I get this thing, and kids, there used to be a thing called an answering machine, but I get home and there's this little flashing red light and it's Bob Fryer. And he goes, when are you going to report to work? And I
I
call him.
got chills.
I'm like, I like, hey, Bob, this is Don. Call me crazy, but I didn't know there was a job opening. I didn't see it. He goes, well, of course you didn't see it. We wouldn't post it. We've known you for 3 years or 2 years. And he goes, why would we take a chance on anybody we don't know? You've shown up eagerly for the last 2.5 years. So when do you want to start? That had more of an impact on me, and just Bob Fryer in general. He was the first person to say, when you turn it in, it's perfect. If it's slow, I don't care, because if it's fast and sloppy, I'll have to go back and there'll have to be corrections. And he was also the guy that said, you can show up 10 minutes early, but you cannot show up 10 seconds late. And on my third day, I'm maybe 10 seconds and there's a glass door and he shuts it and he locks it. And everybody's looking at me and I'm like jiggling the handle and it's locked. He told everybody, turn your back. So like later on, I walk in, he goes, I thought I told you. So from that point on, I am always 5 minutes early at least. And if I'm on time, I'm late. And if I'm over 10 seconds, it's unforgivable.
Mm,
I
mm.
really, delivering newspapers, and Bob Fryer at this place that used to be called the Indiana Business Modernization and Technology Corporation, IBMT, made a huge impact on me. And then God bless this man. He knew that I enjoyed what I was doing, but is not what my calling was. And my calling was, if I'm being honest with myself, the only thing I really ever wanted to be is as good as my dad. He was because he was a teacher during the summers, he was the dad that was fun and around, and he was really influential, and he's a kind person, the most positive, upbeat person I know. I heard him cuss once, and it was damn. Like he is Ward Cleaver, except way more cooler. But like so the third piece of my background is when I told him I'm going to go back and get my second degree, they had paid for my first, and I'm like, I'm married now, not asking for money. I'm like, Dad, I just want to let you know I'm going to be a teacher. And and my dad never complains, but he'd been a teacher most of his life. And he said, Donnie, I don't care if you teach for the next 20 years. Just promise me you won't teach 1 year 20 times. No one likes that teacher.
Oh, yeah.
Meant nothing to me until I started hitting year 2 and 3. And I started listening to teachers that, no offense, they didn't like their job. It had become routine. They were bored. The kids were bored. They were mad at their kids because they were bored. And I was like, okay, keep improving, keep things different, start looking for other things. And so that
Yeah.
really led to my education career of now what I think is being innovative,
Hmm.
taking what is still useful, throwing out what is not, constantly reinventing. And so, in a lot of ways, those words of wisdom from my dad, that customer service from the paper out, that Bob Fryer, take responsibility for your stuff and don't F up, all those things molded me.
It's incredible to hear how that shaped so much and identifying that they were able to see that's really what you needed at that moment and then be able to cling on to those words. That's so phenomenal. Now, at what year did this start to happen where you're like, "Oh, let's do this with what you launched with Started Up?"
So, like, really, in year one, it was like, we couldn't believe who was starting to call the class. Dan Pink was first, but the second thing, actually, this is a really, man, I should talk about this more. The second one is I had a videography class. So this wasn't just my innovation class. I also had like a videography and documentary film class. And we tracked down this guy. I'm 53 years old, so I'm a huge fan of music videos. I had realized that some of my favorite music videos were made by this guy named Chris Milk. Most notably, I think one of the greatest music videos ever is Doesn't Remind Me by Audioslave. Jesus Walks by Kanye West. And then maybe the one that drives me to tears watching it is the song Hurt, but the cover by Johnny Cash. Same guy did all the music videos, and they're iconic. We tracked this guy down and we have him talk to our class. I also got a lot of pretty famous YouTubers to call, but this guy was special. He had worked with Johnny Cash. He had talked about this idea about he bounced off of Kanye and he blew it off and he just said whatever. And Kanye had to come back later and apologize, like, Chris, you were right. Let's do it your way. Just masterful storyteller. So I have him talk to my class and I have them on the webcam. And I thought it went great. Second semester rolls around. I said, hey, will you do that again? And he said, no, it kind of hurt my feelings. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? He says, yeah, I'm a little bit on the shy side, Don. That really hurt my feelings how your students responded. I'm like, it's what? And I didn't push. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I went back and I recorded it and I watched. The webcam was too close to one kid, and that one kid fell asleep. I didn't
Oh,
notice it. I didn't notice it. A matter of fact, the webcam was setting low and I was setting up kind of a little higher, and my kids were hanging on his every word. But from what
oh,
he saw,
yeah.
is he saw a bored kid that fell asleep. And so that really also influenced when I would get special people calling into my class. And actually, I treat everybody special. So I didn't mind if they had 1,000 followers or 200,000 or whatever. But I'm like, dude, that hurt. That was one of my favorite guests ever. And he'll never, I should reach back out to him. Chris Milk, tell him I'm sorry. But that one set me up for, hey, students, I want to tell you about the time where I worked with a guy that did Kanye's video. What? Yeah. And he'll never do anything again because you guys fell asleep. Oh, we'll never do that, Mr. Wettrick. Oh, those things really, really shaped. So the second part of the story is my students started doing crazy stuff, and a couple of them got patents, and a couple of them did like stuff. And so, and Gary Vaynerchuk had started talking about some of the things we were doing, and I was on Daily V, and it got a huge section on it. And so the state commerce department and our governor was like, "What in the heck are you doing? We've been kicking around this idea of having a Shark Tank for kids in Indiana. Will you help?" And I'm not trying to be that guy, but I'm like, I don't like Shark Tank for kids. I've seen them. It's normally performative. It's dope t-shirt line and food truck vague ideas. Or worse yet, I'm going to be the next Netflix without any semblance of knowing what you're doing. And I'll never forget, the guy almost spit out his coffee, and he's like, that's exactly what we're finding. What are you doing then? Why do we see stuff that your students doing? I don't say the word entrepreneurship. I have them find a problem they want to solve.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that honestly was the difference.
Yeah. This is so fun to see how this like evolved in your brain behind it, and these keywords you said not to say, and to be able to bring it to the state. And how long did that take for that to start like getting approved and going with them?
So there was some wiggle room, that there was an existing state catalog that was so vague that we just made it work. And then we kind of wrote for an emergency approval kind of thing. And again, like the reason why we got it, A, locally created pathways started becoming a little bit more of a thing, but B, like we had A-list people calling our class. Like honestly, even the principal at first is like, I don't know what you're doing. I'm like, hey, I've got a guy named Daniel Pink calling the class today. What? How did you, huh? Like that helps for sure. Um, it was, and I'll say this, and I mean this lovingly, about a lot of states that aren't California, Texas, New York, Massachusetts. We want to be relevant. Like I think that if I would have launched this in California, good for you. We were getting these really awesome people, because I think it was this guy named Jocko Wilnick, and he interviewed, like our kids got to interview him, and he's like, so are you guys in like Palo Alto, or where are you at? I'm like, we're in Noblesville, Indiana. He's like, Nowheresville, Indiana. I'm like, kinda.
Kind of.
And and so that really helped, that we did it in a place that you didn't expect.
Hmm. This is
And
so neat.
yeah. Well, and then now that the success of this, like some of the outcomes of this competition, and the thing is, what I hate about a competition is only if you win, but the macro still win. But like last year's winners got into Y Combinator. That's nuts. This year's winners, I wouldn't be surprised if they apply and get it. It's crazy. Um, all because we have told them no more food truck ideas, no more I have a fashion idea, unless you're solving a problem. Now, if you said I'm going to do a fashion line that creates awareness for monarch butterflies and that they're dying off, or we're like, fine, you're solving a problem, but just I've got a cool, dope t-shirt design, I have no interest. I want them to walk away with the mindset of I have identified a problem and know how to break it down, because less than 10% of people want to be entrepreneurs. But if you think like them, you're the gold standard.
Yeah. You're doing so many phenomenal things. And this is we'll talk in a second about kind of where this is going, but I want to ask you this. You're you're like all-time high, right? Like you're crushing it right now. Like why do you keep going? Why do you keep showing up? Why don't you quit?
Be- so thank you. But the reality is that most schools haven't budged. Like I'm literally looking to make sure that I'm in, like, I don't know if I'll feel good about it until I'm at least in 70% of all high schools, period. You could say US or global. Like what sometimes keep me up at night is the most, and I'm not saying this in a pandering way, because I can't stand it and be like, oh, some of these kids that are come from backgrounds and they're scrappy and resilient. You're right. But the two most precious things that we have is our time and our network. And I've been blessed to meet crazy awesome people. I want to not just have that for me. I want to have that for a lot of students. I want to, especially the teachers, because they're the conduits. And so it really keeps me up at night that C and D students still sometimes feel somehow inferior, because well-intended straight A students. God bless them. I love them. But it's an opportunity cost that so much time is searching for the answer that already exists. This algebra problem is going to come and it's going to say 7.1 and that's the only correct answer. Meanwhile, I want more kids that wrestle with shit over stuff over here that say, I'm going to wrestle with this and I don't know what the answer. No one knows what the answer is. And I'm cool to jump into that. It might cost me a grade that's from A to C, but I'd rather do that. At the end of my journey, Tiffany, I want there to be an innovation hub in every school. So really, that's what my class was. It was this weird. So if you were a local mayor, if you were a chamber of commerce, if you were the governor of the state, you know that there's these pop-up hubs all over. And if only 30 kids want to go there, that's all. And yet at the same time, like if I have more freshmen and sophomores and juniors that wrestle with something and they want their entire senior year to spend as much time in that hub solving real stuff, then I'll feel a lot more successful. So it's just more things could get done. And again, I'm not saying this in a pandering Whitney Houston, believe in the kids and their future and let them lead the way, fluffy. I'm saying that if we gave more students time to actually wrestle with things in a real way, get their ass handed to them. It's one thing I love about entrepreneurship. Hey, what do you think of my idea, Mr. Wettrick? It's not that good. Did anybody validate it? Did you do any research? Well, don't you think
No
that I'm special?
ribbon.
Right. Because you know this, entrepreneurship's brutal. And it should be. Because innovators push forward. They don't look for praise. If anything, when I had my kids, if you bullshitted them by like, hey, I think your project's great, seriously, give me feedback. Like they'd be offended if you just glance at it like, hey, it looks great. What kind of a monster are
Dismiss
you?
them. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Grow
And
me.
and I want that more than anything.
Man. I want you to tell people because they're feeling, I want to support you. I want to know you. I want to follow everything that is that you're doing. What's your
Yeah.
favorite way for people to reach out to be able to do all of those things and continue to follow and support? And then maybe throw, hey, if you guys are listening to this right now, who do you know that Don needs to know? All of the above. Where is that
Thank you.
location for everyone?
Thank you. So location wise, I'll throw up some interesting thoughts on LinkedIn. So our website, I guess you should know that. So it's StartedUpFoundation.org. I wanted it to be Startup Ed, and somebody bought it and parked it, and they tried to sell it to me for $50,000. So, which I actually like it. It looks like startup with Ed, and so all caps startup and Ed just there in the middle. So StartedUpFoundation.org. But I do like posting on LinkedIn because I get a lot of people's opinions and theories. I just made a post the other day that I think was hilarious. I talked about an interaction. I won't name who the CEO was, but I just had an interaction with CEO. I was like, how are you guys doing with Gen Z? And he goes, they're unemployable. And I'm like, tell me. And he said, his words, he said, I have time to train them on the technical skills you need to belong here. I do not have time to adjust your shitty attitude. And he goes, that's why I'm interested in, because he had met some of our, some of our high flyers. He's like, they came in asking questions and immediately not waiting for instructions. Is that? And I'm like, so I think he was being a little bit harsh. I think there's a lot of Gen Z. By the way, I think Gen Z is more entrepreneurial than millennials. And I love millennials too. But I like thought-provoking things like that because I get a lot of, it's funny, I get a lot of DMs. Some people aren't ready to make a public comment of like, well, that guy's an asshole, or I did, or I agree. But it is a thought provoker that I really enjoy. I probably should do more on Substack. I like a lot of other people to start tipping my toe into that water. And then, yeah, we are where we are because we have a wacky network. It's the ultimate Kevin Bacon game.
Yeah.
So sometimes people like tonight, as fate would have it, two guys from Lenny Kravitz's band are going to talk to our teachers. And the theme of the night is, let's take away the term starving artists. How do artists and creatives know how to market themselves better? Like, I love that. And so every now and then you have a friend, or maybe you're that person. And I've got an uncle that really struggled in school and you exactly are describing him. Or I had a cousin where she started something from her garage and she, oh my gosh, she would love to talk to. So, and I should say that once a month we offer up influencers for students. So, and then usually influencers that have built something. So again, sorry about the name drop, but like the Savannah Bananas guy was probably our favorite because he's TikTok famous, but he's built something. Tiffany Haddish, even though she's known as a comedian and actress, she built an organization for foster care girls. So like people like that. Then on the thought leader side, we offer up because we bring together tons of teachers and we do a Zoom call once a month. We're in person at the beginning of the year, but once a month we have check-ins. What do you need? What kind of introductions? How can we help? How's the curriculum going? But then we offer up like a guy like Daniel Pink that they're trying to plot out where the world's going. And so like thought leaders that are really understanding the future. And then a lot of times startup people, we have an alumni association and they would love to talk to people that are in the thick of it. No bragging, no, oh, you see my Ferrari there in the background, BS. Like I'm going through some shit and I want to help you like avoid these problems. We're always looking for those three genres.
Yeah. Wonderful. And if you are that person, you're going to go reach out to Don on LinkedIn or go to his website with Started Up Foundation. Two more questions. What's on the horizon?
I'm hoping a mass adoption from a lot of other states opening up their doors and seeing again the fact that we've done this in Indiana, you didn't expect it there. And I kind of want to go states now. We've had some talks with states, and I'm not going to defame them, but states that need this. So I'm hoping not ones and twos teachers, but like some really good mass adoptions in states that are needing economic development. I think my favorite thing that somebody said is you guys started off as an education thing that started to have an impact on economic development. Now we're 100% an economic development tool that happens to be in education. So hopefully more mass adoption, more teachers finding joy and purpose by having students. And God bless, I mean, I was a teacher for 20 several years, but like, what sort of thing are your two students working on after the school day? That's more adoption of that.
Nice, nice. All right, this is my favorite part where I get to ask you your golden nuggets, your pearls of wisdom that you want to leave everybody with to end the show.
For those of you that remember, well, I sound rhymey and almost silly. Um, but there's two things I'm really teaching to a lot of students. One is understanding the world of moaners and groaners and seekers and peakers. Moaners and groaners actually supply you gold. Moaners and groaners complain about things. Moaners and groaners are telling you how everything is terrible. Seekers seek it out. Peakers are what I'm really about, though. They're peeking around the corner and they're understanding pattern recognition and they're understanding where the world's moving to. So peakers are like, if everybody's complaining about this, therefore that. So I want to create more seekers and peakers. Acknowledge those moaners and groaners. They exist. God bless them, but don't be that. Secondly, and I'm really borrowing heavily on what Gary Vee was really preaching a long time ago. I haven't heard him say as much, but the dynamic between attention and trust. There is such an attention starved culture that if you just do the right TikTok dance, if you show enough skin, if you're just outrageous enough or prank somebody, like you're just kind of an asshole. You've gotten attention. Yes. But for longevity, I want you to have trust. For longevity, you get people's attention. Like I know that some people don't find him as amusing, but I think Mr. Beast is the gold standard. He got your attention by doing some crazy, nutty things, but then he gave back. And that made people go, I trust this guy. He was literally the anti Kardashian. He was literally the anti
Right?
Logan and Jake Paul. And that's why he's got your trust.
Yep. Man, you
I want more
just
kids to know
words of
those two things.
wisdom.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love this so much. I'm so appreciative of your time And I
Yeah.
love that I got to interview you on the show and that I get to do whatever I can do to tell people about your foundation so I can get more kids in this program, more high schools in this program, all the way over to California, because I know so many of us over here that need this real bad. And I am so appreciative that we're friends and that you can call me for anything, and the same I feel like I could do for you. And I cannot wait whatsoever to see you continue to grow and grow and grow in this. So, those of you guys who stayed for the whole episode, I'm so appreciative of your time. Everybody's time is an invaluable resource. And I'm going to wrap up. Thank you, Don.
Well,
You've
I
been
want to honor
stunning.
you in the sense that you were that kid. And
Yeah.
here we are. You had your own setbacks and you were like, dreams crushed. Nope, I'm gonna figure some stuff out. So you were literally that kid. I appreciate that. Now that you're not a kid anymore, but and then secondly, like here you are gaining attention and trust. You're not making this a me thing. You're providing value to people that know you. And so literally the two lessons I'm ending with, you embody 100%. And I appreciate that.
Thank you for your kind words. You're a stunning human. Cannot wait for the Lord to bless you in many, many ways. I can't wait. Thank you guys. I'm going to sign off for now and I'll see you guys on the next episode and go have a great day.